Welcome to the Deep Dive into Agile Marketing Podcast with your host, John Cass. Together, we'll take a closer look at the ins and outs of marketing through an Agile lens. You'll learn from interviews with top Agile thought leaders and practitioners and gain fresh new insights for your journey. Let's get ready to dive in.
Welcome to the Deep Dive into Agile Marketing. My name is John Cass here in Boston, Massachusetts. This podcast is different from my usual interviews with brand marketers. Rather, it's a roundup of what's happening in the Agile Marketing LinkedIn group. Plus, I have a report from our roving marketing reporter, Jonathan Wasserman, on what's happening in the pharma industry with Agile Marketing. And lastly, I'll cover and feature a clip from my latest interview with Dimitri Heeb, where Dimitri does an amazing job of providing a case study on Agile Marketing with his work. So let's get started by covering what's been happening online in the Agile Marketing LinkedIn group. I'm one of the moderators for the LinkedIn group, and the group is open to all to talk about the topic of marketing and Agile. In the last 3 months, we've seen 44 posts and over 8,000 post views. Caitlin Whitney asked for participants for her research study to evaluate the impact of generative AI on team performance in Agile organizations for a doctorate at National University. Reach out to her if you'd like to learn more. And Jeff Kemp talked about his issues with using project management tools for time tracking. Lastly, here's a breakdown of the Agile Marketing LinkedIn group by country. The top 5 countries with the highest number of members were the United States with 40% of the membership. It's the largest contingent of members. Next, the UK with 6%, then India with 4%, Canada again with 4%, and lastly, Brazil with 3.5%. And the next highest breakdown of members in their countries are Germany, the Netherlands, Australia, and Italy. We'd like to see more participation from members, so wherever you are located, feel free to post content in your country's language so long as the content is about Agile marketing. The group is set up to encourage and evangelize Agile marketing all around the world. Now let's go to our sponsors on the Marketing Podcast Network.
My dad works in B2B marketing, but I never really knew what that meant. Then one day my dad came by my school for career day and told everyone in my class he was a big ROAS man. Then he just kept saying things like, the bigger the ROAS, the better, over and over. My friends still laugh at me to this day. I think it means calculating a return on ad spend. One thing's for sure. I'll be known as the ROAS man's kid for the rest of my days. Why couldn't you just be a fireman or a lawyer? Why? You ruined my life, Dad.
Not everyone gets B2B, but LinkedIn has the people who do. And with ads on LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people based on job title, industry, likelihood to buy, and more. Start converting your B2B audience into high-quality leads today. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Next, I have our roving reporter, Jonathan Wasserman, who gives us his roundup of what's happening in Agile marketing in the pharmaceutical industry. Let's roll the report from Jonathan.
Hello, this is Jonathan Wasserman of JW Transform Consulting for the Deep Dive into Agile Marketing Roundup podcast. Today I'm speaking to you from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. I've spent a 20-year career in the pharmaceutical industry across several pharma organizations, principally in roles in line management and leadership in marketing and sales. My background is in science and I hold an MBA from Queen's University. Most recently, I've been consulting in both pharma and tech industries in the areas of business and digital transformation. This transition stemming from a strong interest in upgrading and sort of modernizing my skill set, which led me to complete a Master's of Science in Digital Transformation from the University of Hull in the United Kingdom. During my tenure in pharma, I've witnessed many shifts in the needs of healthcare practitioners and patients, requiring our industry to challenge itself and its traditional engagement approaches in order to better serve the market. My glimpses at Agile came from a decade leading a software service company where the power of Agile was applied to coding and team collaboration. I could see the effect it had on productivity, co-creative environment, and customer satisfaction. And naturally, I did wonder on my return to pharma if it could have a similar value. First, Since there can be some debates and discussion on what we refer to as agile marketing, I'm referring to the approach that uses data and analytics to continuously source promising opportunities or solutions to problems in real time, with input and feedback that is immediately tested and incorporated in the output, co-created with target audiences. It speaks to an iterative process in which cross-functional team members bring their expertise and focus. The promise of agile marketing is its adaptability to emerging needs, to its customer focus, and therefore efficient value creation and the results that continuous improvement brings to organizations. So now we're on the same page. How has it evolved in pharma? Well, the drivers of Agile that I have seen seem to align to the need to get data out faster from studies into the market, often with only one shot of getting it right due to both the speed that data is shared and the time lag of compliance approvals for the pharma industry, which is highly regulated. There is a high cost of getting it wrong, and it's really a palpable problem within the industry, balancing the risk to enhance innovation and communications against the risk of failure. I've seen the reliance at one client on data-driven decision-making in real time to adapt patient support programs, making them easier to use, and for healthcare practitioners, patients, and even drug access navigators. That was a really impressive use of Agile, both in the processing and the approach. Others I've seen are sort of testing different message approaches, platforms, tone, and journey position at several different pharma clients, actually, with asynchronous and live HTTP ad boards where rapid improvements are immediately integrated and applied in record time. I've been pleased to see some clients adopt sprints, sort of breaking away from the tedious and often seemingly endless meetings by leading specific topics or challenges with practical and then tested solutions. It seems like it's a natural evolution, frankly, from their experience in traditional A/B testing that early email nurturing campaigns adopted. Probably the difference being the scope and the transparency that is now being shared with audiences in the co-creation. This isn't just about the data that comes back from systems, but the empathy and understanding leading to better programs. But it hasn't been without complications. The cost and time to secure regulatory approvals, both within a pharma company and then from federal regulators, is extensive. There is a tendency to narrow, not expand the ideas that could dramatically improve communication for the perceived risk that they hold. It does take a steady hand, and design thinking principles applied generously to the creation of marketing programs that allows for real improvement in customer focus and campaigns that really move the needle. Regulatory officers, often few in number, have resisted being brought in out of their linear approval cycles into short but early sprint attempts to drive innovation within compliance executions. There's also the competing priorities that cross-functional teams have, such as government policy, regulatory compliance, sales, and marketing. And that's challenged even the establishment of meaningful KPIs that are then used to evaluate programs and continuously improve them over time. I have been impressed with the use of AI. Examples, facilitated data analysis, and probably generative AI, included in how they're creating copy, testing it, and driving innovation. I've been really impressed with how they've maintained the tone and brand idea of products with the advent and liberal use of custom GPT engines, churning out options faster than ever, enriched with specific personas in mind. The speed of AI processing has found nuggets of gold in once lost data warehouses. Insights are now much more accessible when considering the impact of programs, the opportunities, and even niches within one's target audience to customize messages towards. As we've seen with AI, though, there are some other challenges that arise, and Marcella Chiaro on her February 2024 MedCity article had some nice observations on how Agile and AI are being adopted within pharma. She notes that the ownership challenges of co-created material and the end of AI-assisted copy will probably bring with it legal challenges in the future. She alludes to the fact that the metadata that's captured during often used omni-channel executions might also over time be limited by advanced HIPAA requirements and other considerations for privacy. Certainly there's a lot to consider, but the challenges to be overcome are necessary in order to achieve meaningful engagement And to really embrace Agile as a process, we probably need additional tools to support it. This has been Jonathan Wasserman of JW Transform Consulting reporting for the Deep Dive in Agile Marketing Roundup podcast.
Thanks to Jonathan for the report, our first Roundup report. I thought he did a great job of explaining the value of Agile marketing and how Agile is being used by the industry. Specifically, how the industry is using Agile to get out studies faster. He provided a great overview of what's happening across the pharmaceutical industry. I look forward to getting more reports from him in the future. If you'd like to provide a Roundup report, contact me to learn how you can become a stringer for the podcast. Finally, I recently published my interview with Dimitri Reeb on Agile marketing at Divinity. Here's a clip from the podcast.
So could you tell me about Divinity's marketing department's journey using Agile marketing next?
Yeah, so this journey started, as I said, in 2020, so like 4 years ago. We worked with Agile from the very beginning, actually, but it was a very simple implementation at first because we started from scratch and we wanted to prove that we can deliver anything working in this way. So basically we needed an inbox for collecting and processing work orders, so to speak, or our current backlog. We needed a place where we could plan our sprints, our 2-week sprints, and proceed with the tasks and complete them. And we needed an outbox to hand over and accept all the completed work together with the reporting. Being an Atlassian solution partner, obviously, we had this all modeled in our Atlassian toolset. So we had Jira software with 2 basic boards in our project and really simple workflow like to-do in progress done, right? And also we had a service catalog created in Jira Service Management. So we could track like the incoming orders from our stakeholders, and then we would meet up like every 2 weeks in the beginning of the sprint and groom the backlog and like pick the cherries for the upcoming sprint with all the stakeholders, including the CEO. So our only KPI and our only metric that could prove our efficiency was plain sprint burn down. And it wasn't a very efficient thing after all, because it doesn't tell us anything about the actual value of the work we're doing, right? So like that was the first iteration, right? The first part of these things.
Thanks to Dimitri for the great interview. You can download and listen to the complete interview at my podcast on the Marketing Podcast Network. Thanks again to Jonathan Wasserman for his report, and thank you for joining me on the Agile Marketing Roundup podcast. Join me next time at the Deep Dive into Agile Marketing podcast.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Deep Dive into Agile Marketing podcast. Be sure and subscribe to our show and leave a review to let us know what you thought of today's episode.
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Christy Heiler hosts a fantastic podcast called Own It. Christy, tell us more about the show.
Own It is all about celebrating women and non-binary advertising agency owners. We talk about buying out of the Boys Club of Advertising because less than 1% of ad agencies are owned by women.
And where can people subscribe?
You can find the podcast at untilyouownit.com. We're also on the Marketing Podcast Network at marketingpodcast.net. And of course, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
You heard her. Go subscribe. This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.